In the introduction to literature this semester, I've had the privilege to look at some of the greatest authors in the Christian faith and really dive in to see how their works and how their minds created their works through imagination. I think imagination is so key in conveying to non-Christians and Christians an application. In this class taught me even more about how, as a pastor, we must be able to look at certain things and be able to relate better to the congregation, such as literature. Literature is a great way to see symbolism. It also shows the history of the time, and as Jesus spoke in parables, we now have stories that help us, like The Pilgrim's Progress or C.S. Lewis's novels. These books were designed to show the state of mankind or the journey of a Christian. In many cases, this is able to help the human relate to events where a pastor might hit or miss, and the literature that is given helps the pastor be able to give a sense of help in an area that he might fall short of in application of the text. Literature is a great way to help the human understand and get lost in almost a fictional way with our walk with God. The class had taught me how to look at literature in a different light from a secular standpoint. In our assignment with Shakespeare's The Tempest, I really struggled with finding the relation between God and the main character. This took me on a very long time of thinking and thought, but it provoked me to see how fiction shows the morals of God, and it also helps us to see what the secular world can view God as. This course taught me how to define the imagination, to use the imagination. And as a pastor, we must be able to use metaphors. We must be able to come with illustrations. And there's no greater illustrations than the use of literature. And literature has always been something that has been dear to me. I love to read, and I think that it's something that is genius to be able to compile a story together, especially with symbolical meanings behind some of the things. I think back to all the years that I've read James Patterson's books, and I love how he takes different experiences in the police force and he compiles it all together into a book. And I think that with Christian literature, it's amazing how someone can take a theology viewpoint and bring it into a story, such as The Pilgrim's Progress or C.S. Lewis creating a story about how there's a lion as a king or something along that line. And it was interesting to me to see how C.S. Lewis invented his novel. In the book, he mentions that he had a dream, and that led him to one scene in his book novel. And it's amazing how God, he gives anointing to people that write, and how that is a gift in the church. And that is one viewpoint, I guess I could say, changes. I didn't realize how important literature is in the kingdom and seeing the advance of the kingdom. And as I've been an avid fan of literature, I've never really looked at it as part of being a gift of ministry, but it clearly is, and it clearly helps someone that may not come to church but want to pick up a best-selling book by, say, C.S. Lewis or some other author. In imagination, we seem to find that there's a great link of understanding God. Since we cannot see God, we imagine God. And in literature, it helps convey who God is, whether it be fiction or whether it be a reflective book on maybe Christ. We can use our imagination to be energized about who God is and how God works in our life, which is so important. So many times literature can help the Christian through difficult times by seeing someone deal with grief, someone deal with pain, or someone deal with an obstacle in their life and see that character overcome it. I think to the book The Shack, and how the father, he was led through the book and dealing with grief about his dead daughter who was killed by a murderer. In the book, the man, he looked and he saw the power of God, the love of God throughout the book, and in the end, he came to a point where he could get some comfort from the situation. And I think that in literature, that is a great way to respond to that. And in this class, it's really helped open my eyes to see how the imagination can play a key part in seeing applicable things in people's lives, help them get over problems and obstacles, or even just encourage the walk with God. Literature is a key in evangelism, as we know, and it can help someone that doesn't understand Christianity see it from a different light. Again, we go back to the Pilgrim's Progress as he's walking in his ways with the Lord, and as he sometimes he veers off or goes one way or the other, he always gets back on. And if I was an unbeliever, that would speak great light to me on how the Christian walk is. Yes, sometimes we fall off, but as long as we keep our eyes on the right road, which is Christ, then everything will be okay. And there will be the temptations, there will be hard times. And what no better way to describe this through the story of the Pilgrim's Progress, or any other fictional story that can help show the surrounding world and the evil in it, and how merciful our God is, and how a Christian must live. A friend of mine, he currently has a vision to write novels to show the different things that are going on in the world, and how God uses his people to minister, how God is in our lives today, and the different testimonies that we see. And I think that will be a great testimony and a great ministry to so many people that are hurting. And in the streets even, there's so many people that they read. Homeless people read in the libraries all day. And what a greater ministry than to have a book about Christ. And even in the secular realm, which I think I learned more about it and understand more, that we can even look to secular things and find something that symbolizes who God is, or how just God is, or how unjust man is, per se. And that is very key as well. So this class has been a great help in understanding some things and diving into some old text as far as Shakespeare, and also just understanding imagination and understanding how Christ can be so real in our lives, even through novels, even through every subject. And that is so key. And as the semester has taken its course, it has shown me to believe in God, to be able to manage my studies, manage ministry, manage my marriage, and work. So it's been a great semester to be able to see God help me organize this year, and it has definitely been a time of reflection. It'll be probably one of the most unforgettable semesters I've ever had. Thank you for the class, and I really enjoyed it once again, the chance to be able to dive into literature and reflect on some of the greatest authors in the Christian faith, and also look at secular work and see how we can tie that into Christianity as well.